Storytelling Podcast, episode number 62. Welcome to the Storytelling Podcast, where everything's fictional, even you. And now, here are your hosts, two guys and a girl who lie for a living, Garrett, Zach, and Chrissy. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Storytelling Podcast, the podcast that's all about fiction, and more fiction, and telling the best truth through the medium of lies. I'm your host, Garrett Robinson. With me, as always, faithful co-hosts ZC Bolger and Chrissy Moss, all of us being independent authors and generally not too bad people that you'd kind of want to have a beer with, if better people aren't available. You wouldn't
mostly that last.
Yeah, there we go. How's it going, guys?
We're missing our fourth, our
Yes,
D'Artagnan to our Three Musketeers.
Today the intro was actually accurate, so I'm glad I haven't changed that yet. Wouldn't it be ironic if I had actually re-recorded that this week on the Scott's wife had to work tonight, so he is out there being a father, taking care of his child, like whatever.
That's important.
I know, right? How's it been going? Did you miss me while I was gone? I guess you didn't really notice that I was gone. But
nope, didn't even notice.
Didn't even notice.
Nope.
What assholes? Give a quick update. I forgot to set up my lighting. 1 sec.
Chrissy.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Let me see. I did a video on YouTube of my book haul, which was kind of fun. I got some really amazing books this week, and I've been reading a lot of books.
You did a book haul video. Yeah. I can't wait to see that.
This one is kind of awesome.
Here, hold on. I'm going to pull you up. Okay, so what if... Oh, I really want to read that.
Yeah. What is that about? Just the cover intrigues me, honestly.
Yeah.
Have you ever read XKCD?
No.
You've probably seen it.
You are totally fully missing out.
No, yeah, I'm sure you've seen it, Zach. It's a webcomic but all it is stick figures. The guy just... Yeah.
Sorry, what was it?
XKCD.
He does, stick figure comics, which explain, like, a lot of, in a funny way, explains science and technology and just pop culture and everything. And the book is a bunch of weird scientific questions. Like
the one on the cover is actually a question that he's answered before, which is, what if you dropped a T-Rex into a Sarlacc pit?
Yeah.
It's like, if
my printer could literally print out money, would it have that big an effect on the world? Things like that. So, and one of them was, if you put a portal in the bottom of the ocean and sucked all the water off to Mars, how would it lower and what would happen and stuff like that. It's intriguing, and he goes into like economics and science and environmental everything. And it's funny.
I'm super excited to read that. I'm going to get to it when I can. Quick mention at the top of the show, if anybody's watching live, we always love getting your live comments on the YouTube page, and we can actually answer them live on the show and bring them up, and it's pretty. And also, I am slowly restoring the audio feed on iTunes. I know that's screwed up, and I know that a lot of people have reached out to me about that. I am restoring it. It's just it's a little bit of a process because the way that the audio hosting website works, I can't just upload the entire backlog of the show. So I'm putting it back together. But I have gotten several emails on that, so I just wanted to let you guys know. Sorry, it's happening. It's coming back. Just give me a little time. That's all.
Was that all your update, Chrissy?
I guess so. My car broke. I'm feeling a little sick. Yeah. Nobody cares about that.
We care. Don't ever say that. Zach, what you been up to?
I haven't really done anything this week. The only cool thing that I did get was I got a new computer bag, and it's a bag of holding. And I put on my first patch that I sewed on in memory of Opie.
That's really sweet.
I'm pretty psyched about that.
Yeah.
That's about the highlight of my week. Yeah, honestly, I haven't had like an unproductive week like this in a very long time, but it happens.
So Garrett, what have you been doing this week?
Yeah, I got back from Austin today. Yeah, I was at the World Builders Summit in Austin with Johnny, Sean, and Dave from the Self Publishing Podcast, and I mean, it was just one of the best weekends of my life. It was fan freaking tastic.
Worth being sick, tired, exhausted.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm exhausted. I mean, I've been home for like 7 hours now, but I'm still extremely tired, and I'm gonna do my best tonight. But I feel like not everybody knew what the World Builder Summit was, so I'll just briefly explain, and if anybody listening already knows, then I'm sorry. But basically, everybody knows the Dream Engine, Johnny and Sean's book that they wrote after the Fiction Unboxed Kickstarter campaign. Where the hell is it? I know I have a copy. Where are you, book? Anyway, I don't. It's not handy, but the Fiction Unboxed, they did a Kickstarter campaign, and people got to watch them write the book live, and they wrote it in 30 days. It was a cool thing. It was like showing that you can write a book and you can self-publish it, and it doesn't have to take forever. And a certain level of Kickstarter contributor got to go to this summit, and there were only 5 of us. It was really badass, and we met over the weekend, and like when I say over the weekend, I mean like all weekend. It was all weekend, nothing but this, and we designed the rest of the world, and now all of us are going to write our own books in the world, and those books are going to be the canon. They are going to be the official rules of the world, and anybody's allowed to write in the world. In fact, some people have already started writing and publishing short stories in the world, which is totally cool, but like we are the canon. So it's like, So
it's like Wool.
Exactly.
How he does that.
Exactly. Hugh Howey's books are the rules for Wool. And, I'm sure some people will bend or possibly break some of the rules, but
he encourages it even.
Yeah. So we designed all the different rules. I really want to tell you about my book, but I actually thought of this a couple hours ago. I should have asked Sean, but I don't want to spoil anything if he doesn't want it spoiled. But I should get my book done in January, so you won't have to wait too long to see it, and it's going to be fucking awesome. I mean, I know I'm biased, but I'm very excited about my book.
Is this on top of all your Nightblade and everything else?
Yeah, well, Nightblade is now ahead of schedule, although I apparently had a major computer screw-up on Friday because people were supposed to get the first episode of the second book and didn't, so I'm trying to sort out what happened there. But it's ahead of schedule, and that's just going to be releasing, and now like I actually have time where I can finish Ninja Man, and then we can start working on Realm Keepers. And so the plan is keep Nightblade ahead of schedule, which is actually like very easy to do. It doesn't require many hours of the day. Do Ninja Man 2, Ninja Man 3, Realm Keepers 3, and then write my Dream Engine book, which is I guess we need to figure out a name for the world, because the story takes place in a place called Altera, but that's just
Warmland.
Exactly.
I don't have any information on the Dream Engine series or book or anything like that. What kind of
it is.
Well, what genre is it? Is it fantasy?
Steampunk.
Steampunk. Oh, okay.
with fantasy mixed in. The basic plot of the story is that there's a big old machine called the Blunderbuss, and this entire society of Altera runs on the Blunderbuss, and the main character is a girl named Isla, and Isla is a builder, and the builders strap into the Blunderbuss every day, and they dream or they visualize technology that's sort of fed to them by the Blunderbuss, and then they use their minds to manifest it, and that is the technology of the society. Like the machine just sort of creates it, and then everybody's out there with technology and devices that run on steam and pistons and gears and cranks and everything.
And nobody knows how it works or why it works or anything.
Or questions it. Nobody questions it for very specific reasons. And again, there's a lot of things that we discovered and really decided, because like when we went into the meeting, I mean, they were super true to their word. They were like, so let's talk about the Blunderbuss. How do you guys think it works? And we were like, aren't you? Didn't you? And they were like, nope. We said what it does in this book, but like that is one person's perspective on what it does. How does it actually work? And we were all like, oh, cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So are they going to send out a new, I guess, rule book for the world?
Well, that's another. I don't know how much I can spoil.
Because I got one of the original ones.
Yeah. One thing that I know I can say is that the rules will be published online when they are. And the other thing that I know that I can say is that I am going to write, without getting into too much detail, I am going to write a short but pretty comprehensive encyclopedia for the whole world, told by somebody else. In other words, it's going to be like their book that's about the world of the beam, but it's written by what's his face?
Oh.
It's by that other name. What was that name? Sterling Gibson, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to write a book not by Sterling Gibson, obviously, but by like a fictional alternate character, and that is going to be it's going to be a lot of backstory and a lot of facts about the world and everything like that, but it is also going to contain the rules. We called them like the 10 Commandments, although by the end of the weekend there were a lot more than 10. And the other thing that I know that I can say is that
we saw the map.
The map, yeah.
That's Johnny posted that on Twitter.
Right, and that was the map, and it is an alternate Earth. It's alternate history, and this Dream Engine, this blunderbuss, obviously changed history tremendously. But Altera is England, and it's England and Scotland, but like Ireland isn't within Altera, so that may or may not come into play later. It will. And but we really built the rest of the world. And the other thing that I know that I can say, and this is really all I can say, is that my story takes place in Asia, and it's a steampunk samurai story, and it's fucking awesome.
Steampunk samurai, nice.
That sounds interesting.
It sounds like an interesting world to write it, and I'd definitely like to see the rule book on it.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty boss.
What's funny is I went on to Kickstarter like 2 days ago or something. I saw a message from Sean that came to me at the end of their Kickstarter, and so I answered it like 2 days ago. I'm like, nice. I don't think that this really matters now, but
there you go.
Wow.
Here's my answer.
Yeah, I actually have started a short a story for the Altera world.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Zach, by the way, one of the other world builders, Amy Schubert, do you know her by chance?
Amy Schubert.
You might have seen her online. She's often in the comments.
Okay.
She's a mutual friend of Kari Duckhorn's.
Oh, okay.
So she lives here in LA, and like now we're gonna start hanging out. We had no idea.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty boss.
Oh, that is something I forgot.
What?
What's her name? Okay, give me a sec.
Okay.
Speak.
That's cool. Yeah. So one of the other people that was in Austin was Amy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's completely random.
I know,
but
right?
Like amazing.
And the other world builders were a guy named Calvin who has been around. He's been around in the. I know, right? He's been around in the online community, but mostly on SPP. And then a guy named Matt and Melissa Donovan, who no, not Melissa Donovan. Monica. Jesus, I'm tired. Sorry. Monica, who hangs around our show and is on SPP and everything, and it was fantastic. It was, oh hey, speaking of Amy, she's in the comments. Cool. Cannot wait for your encyclopedia. But it was get together in the morning, talk about the world for 4 hours, go out and have like the best lunch in the world. Austin has amazing restaurants, and we just went out and like ate the best thing in the world. Then we went back and worked on the story until like 8, and then we went out and had like the most amazing dinners, and it was just psychotically fantastic and awesome. David Anson also popped in and said, hello all. Hi, David.
Yeah, that sounds like that sounds amazing. I mean, I know how much fun we had. I mean, I know how much fun we have doing story meetings and everything. And then like when we were creating the world just for Ninja Bread Man on that one podcast, we had a lot of fun. So having like 6 to 8 people or whatever doing that all at once must have been like just so much cool. So much
awesome.
Cool, I just said.
So much cool. And what was funny was that Dave looked exactly like I thought he would look. Like he was just, I mean, it was just Dave. Sean and Johnny look nothing like they look on the podcast, but they look so different. Like you just look at them and you're like, it's like your face is broken. Like something about it just.
The picture you took with Sean's mouth all wide open and everything, I was like, he kind of looks like a caricature of himself.
Right?
Not exactly himself, but himself. It's just odd.
And there's a filter
Johnny
on
too.
his webcam.
And I'm thinking part of it is the earphones.
Part of it's the earphones, and part of it is that webcams just naturally, they distort. I mean, first of all, broadcast quality, internet, our Hangout broadcast quality, it just isn't that good because it's streaming video up and broadcasting and blah blah. And second of all, webcams are always to a degree a little bit of a fisheye lens, which like I know not everybody's a camera person, but it kind of bends the image outward.
Right.
So but just the two of those, it was like it's kind of like your face is all scrunched in. It was weird. It was funny. But like, dude, just hanging out with the three of them and then with everybody else, it was freaking amazing. And I'm so excited to start writing my book and keep everything else going with Nightblade and everything. By the way, I don't know if I showed this last time we were on, but this is Nightblade in print. I'm quite happy with it.
Thicker than I thought it would be.
That's what she said. Yeah, it's fun, and it's totally got the Twilight back. I fixed this margin up top is a little bit screwed up, but it's.
Oh, good. You have a QR code on the back. Do you have a way of like seeing when people scan that?
The code?
Yeah.
I will probably, because like I said, I fixed the margin, but I haven't uploaded the new version of the cover yet. But I will probably make that a trackable link because right now it's just straight to my website.
I'm interested. I'm interested to see how that works.
Yeah.
Or we should do that with stickers and put stickers around like a Barnes and Noble or something and see how many people actually scan them.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Sean also we talked about it in Austin. I know we've we've broached this topic before, but he talked about excuse me. He talked about he knows like several other indie authors who basically take their books with them when they travel and they drop them in airport bookstores because they're all linked into the Ingram Spark thing. And he said that airport bookstores work differently from Barnes & Noble where if they scan the item, they scan the item and purchase it regardless. But if they register a purchase for a book and the stock after that is 0, they immediately trigger an order for more of the books.
Really?
So
That's
if you just so if you just dropped your book and somebody picks it up, they will immediately order like 2 more or whatever. So it's sort of like
I went
How's
last
that
time
in
I
the
was
system though?
because it's the same
Ingram Spark.
Yeah. It's like where if you put your book in Ingram Spark, people can go order it through Barnes & Noble.
It's Lightning Source basically, but except it's an offshoot of Lightning Source.
It's a Lightning Source subsidiary.
So does your book have to come from Lightning Source, or can you have an Amazon book or CreateSpace book and do that?
No, it has to be Ingram Spark.
Yeah, it has to be. Yeah, Ingram is the group that will distribute across like the country or world.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. Ingram is it's something that you want to get on. I actually started working to get my paperback into Ingram, into Lightning Source, and I haven't done it yet. But when I was in the airport last, I had them scan one of my paperbacks at a bookstore to see what would happen. And yeah, it didn't come up. So it'll be interesting once I get my paperback set up and I go have them scan it again.
So you can retroactively get them set up into it.
Yeah, because you use the same ISBN. Ingram Spark requires you to have your own ISBN, which is like that's the thing. That's the thing where for print, I don't think people should bother with ISBNs for their own ebooks. Some people say yes, I say no. I say you should always get your own ISBNs for print because, for one thing, you can't go to Ingram Spark without your own ISBN. They don't have the we provide you with a free one. You can buy one through them, but it's way cheaper to buy them for yourself.
They're not cheap.
Yeah, no. Well, it depends on how many you buy. Like,
well, they're cheap. If you buy like 1,000 of them, they're $1 a piece. However, who the hell needs 1,000 of them besides, Johnny and Sean and Dave?
Yeah, well, that's true.
I mean, I bought 500 for, I think, $575, but one cost $125.
Right. And I think you can buy 100 for like $300, which is like
$125 for one. That's fucked up.
Yeah. It's just like that scaling doesn't even make sense to me.
You realize in Canada they're free, right?
Yeah, I know. The other thing to know, though, for anybody listening, is that Ingram Spark, unlike CreateSpace, costs money to put your book through them. It's a minimum of $50, and you have to order a proof, which is another $35 with shipping, because you can only order your proof with priority 2-day shipping, which is like, no, it's fine. I'm not releasing the book for 2 months. I don't. Oh, God damn it. Okay.
And like, sometimes it goes really slowly to get you.
Right.
You're like, I ordered it 2 days.
And there's a thing where there's exact formatting specifications for the PDFs that you send them for your cover and for your interior. And if either one of them is fucked up, they charge you They'll fix it, but they charge you $25 per interior and cover. So, like, I figured out the format, and it will be coming in the self-publishing nuts and bolts series that I'm putting together. But like, it's just realize that going in that you need to spend money to set up the book, and for most people, it's a prestige. It's going to be a prestige thing rather than a profit thing.
Yeah, unless you're starting to do well with your books.
Right. Exactly. And I just want them in paperback. I have.
That's why CreateSpace exists. If you just want them in paperback, just go to CreateSpace.
See, I love CreateSpace having it in paperback, but at this point, I want them in Ingram because I have different schools coming to me and stuff, and they won't buy them unless they're in Ingram because that's what schools and libraries purchase through.
And also, there's a tricky thing where like you can go into Ingram and you can go to CreateSpace. Like for the price for Nightblade, which you can get on Amazon right now, by the way, plug, is $12.99. And it's just straight up just $12.99. If you and Amazon will drop the price just because they just drop the price if nobody's buying it to attract more readers and whatever. But if you go to Ingram Spark and create a paperback and you set the price at the minimum that still yields you a profit, let's say for Nightblade that would be like $8.50 or something like that, right? Amazon, per their policy, will always price match. So they will sell the book they will take it down to $8.50 and then like minus another 25 cents to beat Ingram, but they still give you the same royalty. Now, obviously, you don't want to abuse that system because you ruin it for everybody else. But like I fully plan to create, because Ingram Spark actually gives you better profit margins on the book. So it's like I'm gonna definitely knock my prices down a little bit, and like CreateSpace can lower their costs or whatever.
See, I agree, and for me, I'm going to be lowering my Ingram Spark prices because that's where I'm going to get bulk purchases from. So a lower price should yield more sales or more individual books purchased through like schools and libraries and stuff. So because I'm not planning on Ingram being my major selling point. That's what Amazon's doing, but it is for those points that need it to be in Ingram to be purchased.
Exactly. And if you want to do the airport thing, like now I'm going to start getting some hardcovers of Nightblade. Now that I'm happy with the interior of Nightblade, I'm going to be doing the same trim size through Ingram Spark. I'm going to adjust the cover, obviously, because like I said, a couple of the margins on the cover were a little screwed up. But then I'm just going to start tooling around with copies of Nightblade, and I visited 3 airports this weekend. I totally could have just dropped a copy in each one, and that's like a $10 investment, and who knows where it could go, but it's just kind of cool. I just like it.
But if you think about it, Garrett, if you're using the same ISBNs as the ones that you're putting through CreateSpace, because you can do that, you can purchase your CreateSpace ones at print price. So like
Yeah, that's
Danny
true.
Calloway would cost me, it's a $5 investment. And it's like, I leave them in airports anyway, so might as well put them in the bookstore.
No, that's true. I was thinking more hardcovers. Like that's that's what I would want.
Hardcovers. Yeah, for me, Danny Calloway is like ridiculous. Yeah. I can't wait to update that book.
Anyway, but yeah, the World Builder Summit was fantastic. I'm probably going to go back out there, maybe before the end of the year, definitely early next year, because my main thing that I was doing out there was I filmed everything. I filmed all day. I actually captured like 150 gigs worth of footage, like 24 straight hours of footage. And I'm going to keep filming. I'm going to do interviews with Johnny, Sean, and Dave. And like we're making a documentary about Fiction Unboxed, and it's going to cover the process itself and incorporate a lot of the videos that they made during that time. And then it's going to go through the World Builder Summit and probably to the release of everyone's first book and like the first bundle of everyone's canon books, and make that like a little half-hour documentary and figure out how we want to distribute it and whatever. But I'm making a feature film.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. So that's done. Why don't we talk about the topic?
What was the topic again?
It was your topic, Chrissy.
You picked it, Chrissy. But before we talk about that, hey Zach, how's Riddlemaster going?
Oh, dude, it is so good.
Is it really?
I am on chapter 3.
I thought you might be. I thought you might be on chapter 3. I picked that up somewhere.
It's funny. Every time that like we're thinking of topics and stuff, I'm like, man, I should really read Riddlemaster.
You really
I'm gonna go do this.
No, you actually really need to.
Yeah,
I read your fucking Maze Runner, man.
Yeah, and how long did that take? A long time to get you to read that.
Not as long as it's taken you to read Riddlemaster, though.
That's probably true.
We have it on record. Like we do.
Somebody should go check that out because I know I'm not going to.
Yeah. A person with a totally awesome name named Johnny Crackers tuned in and said, "First time watching the show. My friend Buddy told me about it. Enjoying it a lot so far. Hi, Johnny. Good to see you,
Mr. Crackers."
Mr. Crackers. I watch a lot of Jake and the Neverland Pirates with my kids, and there's a parrot on that show who's always like, "Crackers." That's his curse word.
His catchphrase. Oh.
Yeah.
Mr. Crackers. I like that. That's a kid's character right there, Mr. Crackers.
It is actually. You should have that in Danny 2, because I think beyond Danny 2 things are going to get too serious. Like you can't do the random stupid shit anymore. Like the first couple Harry Potters where it was like, whoa, do 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 do, and then on the third one it was like the house elves are an oppressed people, and you're like, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we'll see.
Yeah. So creating emotion and atmosphere in your storytelling. Ambiance. I'm sorry. Well, it's labeled atmosphere, so I retconned that apparently. Chrissy, do you want to start us off since it was your idea?
Sure.
She's like, I actually picked it because I wanted to hear your viewpoints.
Oh, God damn it. The point of having you guys choose the topics is to get not me talking the whole time.
I actually had a nice little set of notes and forgot it at work. So.
Well, then just speak from the heart.
I have one? Are you sure?
It's somewhere, I'm sure.
I don't know. I was thinking, using, yeah, right. Put me on the spot. I love it.
Good. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Emotion and ambiance for me. Ambiance is something, when I saw that in your text, I thought that was an amazing topic because when you read my solo book, Danny Calloway, there's a lot of ambiance. There's a lot of stormy nights and creaking floorboards and making things mysterious and kind of creepy or for the kids. And it's something that I enjoy most in writing, mystery or adventure, suspense kind of stuff. So definitely needed.
Yeah, and so since a big part of writing is showing, not telling,
right.
You can't just say, well, they feel scared. You have to show how they're feeling it through their emotions or through their actions and sweat dripping down their brow or shivering in the corner or something. You have to show it. And so adding that ambiance of creaking floorboards and darkness and maybe dripping water and stuff, that helps set the mood so that you telegraph that emotion from the character more because you're feeling it too.
Right. Yeah, they go hand in hand. Your ambiance of your room or your location that your characters are in are definitely going to define how they're going to react or how they feel.
Mm-hmm. At least if you're doing it right.
Right, and that's exactly how it should be. And it's funny because if you think about it, even if you have a very solid character who isn't going to be affected by, let's say, a scary ambiance, he's still going to be affected in a certain way. His reaction might be laughing, or his reaction might be, being angry in this atmosphere that is supposed to be a scary atmosphere. But it is still creating that emotion because he is in that atmosphere or that ambiance is happening.
But you have to be true to your character, whatever your character does.
Right, of course.
No, I can't.
Good. Somebody mentioned in a writing group that I'm part of on Facebook, mentioned the other day a point that I thought was a good point. I think it needs to be taken with a grain of salt, and it's not always appropriate. But they talked about first-person narrative, and they talked about describing a scene and the character saying, "I looked up at the sky and saw." The red of the sunset mixed with the white clouds, and they were like, that's totally pulling the reader out of the story. And I was like, huh? And they said the person isn't, if you are the person, you're not focused on looking up, you just see it. So if you just say, if you're standing, if the person is standing there looking, they would just go, above me the sky glowed red and interspersed with white clouds, but they wouldn't describe, I looked up, I did this and everything like that. And I was like,
interesting.
That's an interesting point. Sometimes I think that there's moments where, like, I slapped him. It's like you.
Right. Or I turned quickly. Okay. Like, if I turned quickly, I could have attention on how fast I'm turning because my entire body is in it.
Right.
But a simple action of just kind of like looking up that is not necessarily known to you when you're doing it. I can totally see that when you're describing a scene.
And even like I thought about, like, you don't say I think about, you just have the thoughts. It's like it bothered me how it bothered me how my mom was being unfair to me. You wouldn't think that. You'd go, my mom was being so unfair. Like,
very true.
Shouldn't
but if it's past tense and you're telling the story, then you could say I thought, because you're saying this is what happened.
You could, but it's more. I think they were right that it's more immersive to just say my mom was being so unfair. How could she treat me this way? Rather than it bothered me that my mom would treat me this way, and I thought it was so unfair. You know what I mean?
I think it depends on what kind of a story you're trying to tell.
Oh, it does.
If you're trying to tell a story of an adult looking back on his past life, he's not going to think the same way.
Right.
Whereas if it's just like something that happened yesterday to a teenage self, then they're still going to feel the same way.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. That's a very interesting view on it.
But it's a really good thing to think about are you, and that's a very fine point on telling rather than showing, but it does definitely put you more in the space of, like, it's happening.
Well, on the subject of first person stories, you have to take into account not only who's telling the story, but who the person was when the story happened and who they are now.
Right. Totally.
And you have to marry them together.
Yeah. If you like it so much, why don't you marry it?
I don't think I ever want to get married again. Thank you very much.
So back to emotion and ambiance.
That just created some ambiance, an uncomfortable one. Okay.
So how do you use it, Garrett? How do you feel about ambiance?
Well, this is a topic that's on my mind a lot recently. Simon Canton recently did a video in response to a video of mine. I recently put out a call on my vlog for my viewers to vlog at me, like tell me about something that you have thoughts of, or something that you like, or whatever. And Simon's vlog was about using old-timey language, and I thought his points were interesting until he criticized the Lord of the Rings, and then I knew he was a heartless hellspawn for whom there could be no redemption in this life or any other. But
you recognize I avoid that subject.
Yeah. No, but like I'm in the middle of no, I actually just finished editing Simon's book, The Bite at the End of the Line, and I made several mentions where it was like you use the word. It's a mostly fantasy novel, and I was like, you use the word guy, or you use centimeters, and
modern language.
Yeah, you use like freaking out. And he was like, "Yeah, I hate when books are like really old-timey language." And that was what his, vlog was about. Was that what's the point of the old-timey language? Because in whatever fantasy world, in the Lord of the Rings or Westeros, or we've had discussions about this about Nightblade. He was like, they weren't speaking English. So what's the point of using this old style of English to be true to the world when like they weren't using English? And I see his point. I made a similar point on the thing of being like accurate on having like women be like not fighting and whatever. I recently did a blog post and a vlog about that where it's like, accurate to what? You're not on Earth. You don't have to follow the rules. But I think
you got criticized a lot for.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have had. Boy, don't talk about misogyny on the internet, because the misogynists will try their hardest to prove your point. And and not everybody. I have a fantastic YouTube audience, and people like you, Chrissy. You jumped in and you were like, thoughtful comment with some rebuttals and like some actual
and some statistics.
And other people have done that as well. It's like like what the focus of the movement is supposed to do, and other people are like fart knocker words I don't really want to say, but just like God, it's some people. Anyway, but for me, that subject is different from using old-timey language in writing fantasy or any, the Dream Engine is the same way. It's alternate history and it's Earth and whatever, and it's not about being accurate. It's about creating a sense of mood. It's about,
Atmosphere.
Sorry?
Atmosphere.
Right. It's an atmosphere thing. It's like...
Especially centimeters. That doesn't even compute in...
Right, like centimeters
in America.
Right.
It's not just America, even Old England.
Yeah, centimeters were adopted in the... I researched this when I saw centimeters. I looked it up, and centimeters were adopted in the late 1800s.
It was an Industrial Revolution thing.
Right, and it's like... I don't know, and
because it's the thing they're measuring a centimeter off of, or basing that measure of unit. They didn't have the ability to measure that back then. So the imperial units are based off like grains of sand and barley and stuff.
Right, and feet, and things like that. Patrick Stem chimed in and said, "Damn late, but here." Hi, Patrick. Good to see you.
Used to step.
And
he just has to go back and watch the rest of it now.
I know. Yeah, I Patrick, you don't want to miss. I talked about the Austin Summit, so give that a watch.
And I show my new bag.
And Chrissy flashed the camera. No, she did not. I flashed the camera. I'll do it again. I'll do it again, man. I don't even care. No, but yeah. So, but like his counterpoint was like, yeah, but if I say 30 centimeters, people know what I'm talking about. In fact,
depends on what country you're in.
No, well, it does, but 90% of the world knows what you're talking about. Right. Americans are the only ones too stupid to go, no, you know what? It is an objectively better measuring system. Only an idiot would resist.
Say stupid. I would say maybe really stuck in their own.
I'd say American, goddammit.
It's arbitrary, is the right word for it. Where it's like you can totally.
I think it's patriotic, personally.
Really? Considering it was invented in England and France?
Patriotic.
Okay. And even the English are like, wow, that was a dumb system. Glad we got rid of that. And we're like, America. So we just don't want to change the dashboards on all our cars to say kilometers, even though they already say it. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that
I get what you're saying. I think that's actually an interesting point. If I'm taking into like Realm Keepers, for example, we have these different languages in this alternate universe that are being magically turned into English so that they can be understood, but the people are still talking with old-timey language, except for our six people, our six main characters. But if you think about it, if we were to make all of Midrealm's translation into modern-day English, it would sound really stupid.
Like, God damn it!
Yeah, it would be boring. It'd be out of character. Like it wouldn't create that ambiance of this is a different society. This is an older society, a more hands-on society than technological.
Right, exactly. So that's why we do that. That's why I do it in Nightblade. Nightblade, like not a lot of people, but a couple of people, I haven't gotten a review less than 3 stars, but some 3-star reviews have been like, dude, the language, like, because I go pretty definitely old-timey, like phrases and stuff that you just don't hear in general modern-day parlance. And it's to create that atmosphere. And certain people are like, dude, and certain people are like, why? But like it was funny to me that Simon mentioned in his video Lord of the Rings, because to me Lord of the Rings doesn't even go that far. It's old timey, but it's not that far. It's not as far as a lot of other books that I've read that are like really, really, like there was one book, I can't remember what book it was. I think it was the frickin' Wheel of Time series, which as most people know I'm not a fan of. And they said they used the phrase "this day" all the time. It's like, we will reclaim our honor this day. I will fight the battle this day. I will wash my laundry this day. It's just like. I
don't think it was Wheel of Time.
I use that all the time. I will eat cake this day.
Yeah, exactly. But that just was kind of like annoying to me. And yeah, so I didn't even think Lord of the Rings was like that far stretching of an example. And if anything, I tried to go more than that. I tried to create more of like a old-timey medieval language and phrasing and yada yada yada. And I have like they measure things in hands and fingers. Like she's a hand taller than any other woman in the village. He stood 3 fingers shorter and all that sort of thing. So I think that's part of I mean, that's also like a little bit of world building, but in terms of the language that you use, it's an atmospheric thing.
Yeah, it also depends on your audience, because we ran into that in Midrealm more than Wormspire, just on the copy that I got back from Garrett, and then I would have to change certain things, and because our audience wasn't honestly that advanced to read it, because our main audience is for young adults, Yeah. And I'd be reading it, I'd be like, what the hell does that word mean? And I'd have to look it up myself.
Garrett, like, stop using words like histrionic.
Yeah. If I don't know it, then 17-year-old kid or 16-year-old kid most likely won't.
Yeah.
Because
some people will.
Some people will.
No, absolutely. Like Ian Meltzer, like one of our favorite readers from Delphi, he'd just be like, yeah, absolutely. But like a lot of other people, it would be a barrier to entry.
Right. And
I totally agree with Sean with don't talk down to kids.
Sure, that's fine. But there's also don't talk over their heads so they don't understand anything you're saying.
Yeah, so adults should be able to understand it.
Yeah, but see what I was running into, which Garrett and I had a conversation about back then, was he's like, dude, I would understand this. And I was like, yeah, but Garrett, you aren't the average teenager. Right. Like when you were a 17-year-old kid, you were reading at a 4th-year college level.
And the other thing is that you just have to realize that words that people don't understand, if your story's good, people will push on through, but a certain percentage always won't. A certain percentage. That might be a small percentage if your story's really good, and it might be a large percentage if your story is middling. But in any case, it's a percentage. So you just have to realize that the more complicated you get, the more readers you lose, and you have to find your own balance. Like, there are certain things that I was like, no, I'm not dumbing this down. Like, this is a complicated theme, or it's a complicated premise, or like the reasons behind this are a little bit complicated, and I don't want to, get rid of that.
Yeah.
So
exactly. But being co-authored, it was just something that we need to, talk about and work out together.
Well, some of that is part of the ambiance too. I mean, if you throw in a really long college-level word in the middle of the rest of it, where they're saying, "Oh, how pretty things are," you have two different levels of, I guess, grade-wise of the language, and it just doesn't fit.
Right.
Unless
you'll stumble your reader.
Right.
If I'm reading and I go, wait, it was flowing, and then I just stumbled over a word.
So, and there are instances where you want to use those kind of words, like if you're talking about a college professor who's in the middle of the story or something, and then they might be using those kind of words.
Right, and that works. That totally works. If you have a character that speaks that way, then a person can go, oh, they're expecting it,
Right.
But you do also, in that particular, you still don't want to do that for a 6th grade
right.
or 5th grade person that's supposed to be reading this book, and you're using,
unless they're in Mensa.
Mensa?
Mensa.
Mensa.
Really, really smart.
Oh.
Mensa,
okay.
like the Mensa Institute? It's not a university.
It's an institute for higher intelligence.
Yeah.
Prodigy.
That's why I haven't heard of it. That's how far down
I like those jokes. So I want to talk now about the other thing that's in the subject line of this video, which is creating emotion.
Yeah.
Haven't got any.
There was, goddamn, I wish I had this article ready to hand, but somebody talked about. I read this article about Edgar Allan Poe creating a sense of fear and dread. And basically they went through his writing and analyzed it, and it was such an amazing analysis. And a lot of it was word choice. Like, a lot of emotion is what happens to your characters. When you really, really love Harry Potter and he's about to be killed by Voldemort, you feel fear. When you really, really love Harry Potter and he kisses Cho for the first time, you're like, oh, yeah, go dude! It's like, it's cool.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes the really heightened emotions are sometimes easier to create than things like sadness and anger and like sort of those slow burning, festering emotions. And I might be wrong about that, but it's definitely hard to make people scared. That's one thing I've realized, and I'm not good at it, and I don't try anymore. It's like I can try to create tension, but like trying to freak people out is just like, eh. Yeah. But people are really good at it. Sean and Dave are really good at it.
Right.
Yeah.
And one thing that they mentioned was that a lot of it was word choice. And when Poe is describing a landscape in one of his poems or his novels, they analyzed the first 2 paragraphs of his description of a scene, and he used 45 words: dark, drab, black, gray, silent, muffled, mute, and all these things that's just like, everything is terrible. Like, like Dave's Bible. And Dave got a special edition Bible that he keeps by his bedside and reads every night to keep himself sufficiently dark. But that's an excellent point. The word choice is huge because certain words just have certain connotations with people, and when you're writing a poem about happiness and victory and everything, using words like vibrant and and
glowing and
energetic. Exactly. But like, what I think is funny is that, like, don't use the words of emotion. Don't say joyous. Just
Right.
use things that communicate joy. Because if you just say joyous, then it's like that's a little bit of a cop out.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think I haven't really been able to communicate true fear. I don't feel. I feel in Danny I was able to bring a good amount of suspense.
Right.
In different, especially later on in the books or later on in the book. But fear I have tried in other short stories that I've written, unpublished short stories that I've written, and I feel like I don't I get to it, or I don't hit it as I'm trying to get there. But that's a very good point, and I can definitely try that for myself. But yeah, for suspense is easy for me.
That's me thinking that. I don't know if I'm right or not.
Well, I remember Footsteps was very suspenseful.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I think, your only like truly scary story that I've read. A lot of them are like
that you've read, maybe.
Yeah, no, that I've read, because I've only really read Prophecy by Barlight, Flight of the Griffins, Footsteps, and Osiren's Tears, which
you
is
read that?
Osiren's Tears.
Yeah.
You sent me parts of it at least. I know I haven't finished it, and I feel bad about it all the time. But then again, Zach's never finished any book that he wasn't part of.
That's not true. I read Ready Player One.
I haven't finished all of your books either, so.
But yeah, like what do you
my book of short stories has several in there that are darker.
Right.
And so the wording in there is dark, dreary, dead, withered, things like that.
See, I feel suspense is much easier to get than fear, though. Like when I was reading Yesterday's Gone, I think it was season 2's beginning or something like that, was when I was truly like I was sitting there like oh my god, like
right.
I was kind of scared, Right. It wasn't necessarily it was suspenseful, but it was like there was a fear, like I can see this happening and I don't want to be seeing this happening,
Right.
Where suspense is something that I can kind of sit through and be like,
oh,
I feel
it. And nausea, like when you read Hit Girls.
Exactly. You produce nausea. There you go. Like that's something that I haven't been able to do.
I think a really important thing in conveying emotion is figuring out what causes that emotion, and then just amping that up.
Yeah.
Like finding what contributes to that. Like for the biggest thing on fear and suspense, they have their own nuances, but fear and suspense come from the unknown. Fear is the unknown of like what is coming to kill me, and suspense is like what's going to happen next.
Right.
Snakeskin by C.J. Lyons has one of the most suspenseful moments I've ever read in a book, where I was literally just like, ah! And somebody gift that, please. And it was just fantastic because I had no idea. Like, I was like, is she gonna die? Is she gonna get like severely injured? Is she gonna be fine? Because the book was like very, very clear about like, no, anything can happen to anybody. Like, we don't screw around here. And so that was that. But then on Footprints, that was fear of the unknown. It was like,
right.
What the hell is happening? And people talk about in horror books and films all the time. As soon as you see the monster, tension starts leaking out. And that's why movies like Cloverfield do so well, because you don't see the fucking thing. Ever. You see like manifestations of it, and you see it's like its feet disappearing behind a building, and you're just like, what is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
that's interesting.
But that works for other emotions as well. Like one thing that creates a feeling of victory or happiness is the thing long awaited suddenly realized. So if you've just been waiting, but again, once you give that to the reader, the tension bleeds out, and if you don't have something else to replace it, you're fucked.
But there's suspense and tension even when it's not a fearful situation, like romance. Lots of suspense, lots of tension, but it's all sexual.
Yeah, well, I'd say there's lots of tension, and tension is an important thing in any storytelling. I wouldn't call that suspense from
There can be suspense. I mean, if you're like, especially in love triangles, you're like, which one are they going to get with? sort of thing.
Yeah, but I consider that tension, and maybe I've got the definitions wrong or mixed up, or maybe it's basically the same thing. But I place a distinct difference on romantic tension and suspense. Suspense is a feeling like fear. Like nobody would ever describe a romance book as a suspense book, a suspense thriller.
It's not as dark as fear. It's in the grayer area, I feel, of colors, if you were to put a color chart to it. Right. And it's more of a slow movement with a hint of something that can give away a position or can put your characters into a position that they shouldn't be in.
Of danger. It's a
danger thing. Exactly.
Whereas like an FBI thriller can have an FBI agent who's in danger, and you're like, is he gonna make it? But you're not like, what is this creeping horror that has clawed its way out from hell? You know, there's that difference. But
a lot of paranormal romance has that too, though, because it's across genres.
Yeah, but that's a cross genre thing. But so if you're talking about joy and happiness, like something that contributes to that emotion is the thing that you've wanted to happen forever that finally happens. Like when Umbridge got her ass kicked in Harry Potter, I was just like,
oh yeah,
yes, because you wanted her to just you really wanted her to die a painful death, but like she basically got raped by the centaurs. Like I mean, that's subtext, but like that was a she did not get off lightly from that experience, and you were just like, oh dude, thank God, because what a horrible person.
The other one I loved was when you wanted the person to have something bad happen to them.
Yeah.
And then after the bad thing happened, you realized that they were a really good person. And, well, mostly good. And so then you felt bad for thinking those bad things about that person.
Yeah, no, there's that too. But like moments like and Game of Thrones creates a sense of depression, I think, because it takes hope and just crushes it. And depression comes from crushed hope and a lack of hope. It's that feeling of despair. But at the same time, it mixes in moments like when Joffrey dies, and you're just like,
yeah,
ha 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 ha.
And he died.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. He does not die well. But
I've just gotten to the point though that with Game of Thrones that if I like a character, I know he's gonna die. And
that's unfortunate.
I actually got into a discussion about Game of Thrones over the weekend, where I don't think that's true necessarily anymore. I'm sure we're going to lose some favorites before the end of the series, but I think that George Martin has been playing a long con.
Right.
And what he started off with was the Starks versus the Lannisters, two great houses vying for power with Eddard Stark, Robert Baratheon, Cersei, all these people in the highest positions of power, and now that's all.
The dragon lady coming in from the south.
Well, but she had no power. She was a side character who was very interesting, but she had no power. And everybody with power, who is the big heroes and villains that you started the series off with, have all faded away. And Tyrion and Brienne and Daenerys have all become agents of change, and they are the actual people who are still making things happen in the universe. And I think that's his thing, is like when you go into a story and great events that change the world, it's not the first people that you'd look at who make the difference. It's the smaller people, the more interesting people, literally smaller in Tyrion's case, off to the side that make the difference. I think that's actually the message of the story, which is a much more hopeful message than everyone you love will die horribly and painfully.
I just hope that he does the same thing that what's his name from the Wheel of Time did, and tells the story to somebody before something happens to it.
Oh, he already has. The show, they've pretty much confirmed that the show is going to outpace the books, but he's the executive producer of the show. He's saying this is where the books are going, so this is what needs to happen next in the show.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll.
But has he lined it out to the end? Because otherwise,
I think so.
I mean, if he got in a car accident tomorrow,
right.
that would suck.
Well, he thought that the next book was going to be the last one, and I think that means that he knew what the ending was, and then but the stuff in between the ending was too much, so he expanded it. And now we're going to have 7 fucking books.
How many are out so far?
5.
So there's 2 more, and the next one's coming out soon, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that means
that's what they
only
said.
6 more years for the last one.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're at an hour, and that's a pretty good time to end off on. Just remember, like, my takeaway is find what causes the emotion you're trying to convey, and put more of that in your story, and take out anything that's not that, and then find words that are no, but I mean, like, really, it's like in the middle of your description of the victorious thing of the thing. Don't have him go and look at the dead bodies. Like, do that afterwards. Like the dead bodies of his friends. Like the.
I would
viewing,
add
well,
one
the viewing.
more thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't stick to visual cues. Add in
for sure.
smell, taste, touch, feelings. Just if you go above and beyond and add those layers of texture, it's going to be more felt by the reader.
Yeah, and also keep your ambiance properly balanced, because you can't have too much ambiance, which
as in the first 70 fucking pages of Ready Player One, which is a fantastic book that everybody needs to read.
Great story. It's a great story.
Damn. Yeah.
But yes, there's too much ambiance in the beginning of that book. But so that's a good example. If you guys want an example of that, go read the first 70 pages of that book, and then read the rest of it because it's great. But but yeah, you want to have a proper
to
balance.
Page 70 and read from there.
You can have too much ambiance, which will make your reader want to drop it, like Garrett had with Ready Player One, or you can have too little, and it's not really actually painting your picture.
Exactly. Okay, good show for the night, guys. Thank you very much. A quick reminder for anybody watching: Nightblade. It's on Amazon. It's only $13.
Of course.
And the ebook, of course, is out there, and it's only $6. Or you can get it from my website and buy it direct. That's just a mention. That will be it for this night's storytelling podcast. Oh, sorry, being terribly rude. Do we have anything else that we want to send people to? I'm just being an asshole. Sorry.
You can go to my Twitter at ZCBolger.
I'll mention
my
that.
website's down right now.
Okay, so this has been the Storytelling Podcast. Thank you for the live listeners who tuned in: David Anson, Amy T. Schubert, Johnny Crackers, best name ever, and Patrick Stemp. Not that anybody else's name is bad. It's just, I mean, come on, Johnny Crackers. I'm Garrett Robinson. You can find me at garrettbrobinson.com, where you can get all my books direct from me. Zach is on Twitter at ZCBolger, and Chrissy is at ChrissyMoss.com. We'll see you next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, everybody. Good night. Yes, I said Pacific.